We finally got our first look at actual gameplay from MENACE. In this video, I'll be sharing that footage with you and breaking down some of the systems we've seen talked about in the developer diaries, with editing kept to a minimum so you can experience the raw gameplay. Just to be clear, this isn't me playing, it's more of an extended preview shown to creators and press, with footage provided by Hooded Horse and Overhype Studios. A big thank you goes out to them for making this available. Now let's jump into the main attraction. Starting near the beginning of the game, where we will get to choose our initial 4 squad leaders. Remember that squad leaders' relationships and stories are a big part of the replayability, so this will be an option you have every time that you start a new game. Since we are a Marine detachment, those available at the beginning are limited to Marine squad leaders, but it has been said that we can recruit others with different backgrounds or local factions. 16 squad leaders are set to be available at the early access launch, with a planned total of 26 for the time being. We also get a look at our cruiser, the TCRN Impetus, and some of its capabilities. A sensor array that gives intelligence, a dropship minigun strafing run we can call in, and a med bay giving a 15% chance to revive a fallen squad mate after each mission. I would like to point out some notable things here though. The med bay is damaged, and the caption mentions an event that caused this damage, likely the same event that will leave us cut off in the Wayback System. There's also a black market tab on the side menu, which could lead to some interesting trading and procurement opportunities. Give me some of that space pirate gear held together by paper clips and shoestrings. Next up is the squad customization, where we'll look at a few different leaders. You can see the skill tree with different tiers and abilities available, and each tree will be unique for every leader, with a combination of standard skills and individual abilities. Here you can see the promotion points being used to unlock new skills, but also the option to demote at the bottom of the screen, which looks like it returns 50% of the promotion points spent to unlock a skill. Looking at weapon choices, we go from the long-range carbine to the shorter range shotgun, and if you look closely at the squad in the back, you will see all of their weapons change. You are allowed 1 special weapon per squad, and in this case they choose the flamethrower. I do really like the damage and statistical breakdowns that show up when you hover over a weapon, paired with this very military colored beige green brown UI makes the theme of the game stand out even more. The second leader is also part of an infantry squad, switching between different long range weapon options and equipping a rocket launcher. Looking at her skill tree, you can see that it's actually completely different from the previous infantry leader, and honestly, I don't think there are any repeat skills between the two, which is a good sign. A couple other things they show with this squad is the recon drone accessory that can be used to scout, and the ability to change your squad size by adding or taking away troops to a maximum of 9. Something not specifically shown here is the custom squaddy system that allows you to rename and customize the members of your squad. Looking at the units, you can see the different call signs above their heads, which is something you'll be able to change and make your own, as well as squaddy genders, looks, home planets, and surnames. As a reminder, squad leaders will be pre-written, voice acted, and unable to be changed. This is a choice by the developers to be able to write their stories and interactions with each other. This next squad leader does have a couple of duplicate standard skills as the first example, but one thing I noticed is that each one seems to have their own specialty or play style. The first squad leader is focused around combat resolve, leadership, and minimizing suppression. The second had skills that leaned more towards concealment and disabling enemy special weapons, and this third one looks to be the heavy armor, heavy weapon, big boom kind of guy. The fourth and final example is a bit different. This squad leader is actually a pilot. Pilots cannot be deployed without a vehicle or mech, so she is bringing in the light troop carrier, a vehicle chassis with a heavy and light slot. By keeping the ability to use this vehicle as a transport, she can only equip 1 weapon, and they choose the medium machine gun. What I like here are the vehicle specific skills. Expert pilot halves the AP cost for turning and reversing. Hotwire allows for EMP'd hardware to still work but with only half of its AP, and of course roadkill, making run over attacks vastly more deadly. I don't know about you, but I will definitely be attempting to turn some aliens into speed bumps. Let me know in the comments if you will too, or what your favorite part of the squad system is so far. The next step is mission prep. where we look at our available intel and deploy our units. This first example is a simple counterinsurgency mission where we secure an outpost. The orange bar at the bottom of the map is the available deploy zone, where we can choose which positions our squads will start in to begin the mission. Notice in the left-hand corner for details, it gives weather information, an important piece that we'll come back to later. This second map is a little more detailed and spread out, as it is a sabotage mission with specific objectives and an evac point. You'll notice we do see approximate enemy positions and even specific squad numbers and unit types for some of them. This is all a part of the intel system, where you can increase your intelligence rating to reveal more detailed information about enemy units and positions, helping you plan your gear and squad composition more effectively. Interestingly enough, there's even some objects on the map that only say unknown allegiance and unknown entity, which could mean civilians, a new faction, or maybe even some of those pesky aliens. Now, before we get into the actual mission and combat gameplay, just a reminder that if you're interested in Menace, I do cover all of the weekly developer updates and news, as well as other turn-based tactics games, and I will certainly be streaming and covering the Menace demo when it becomes available later this month. Links to the Dev Diary coverage are in the description and at the end of this video. This is the part I'm sure everyone is waiting on, the mission-to-mission encounter and combat gameplay. We didn't get a continuous clip of a full mission being played, so some of these seem like they jump around a bit, but we can still get a good feel for the camera, UI, and different combat systems. Keep in mind this is not a final version of the game, and changes will likely happen through early access. This footage starts right at the beginning after the mission prep and deployment phase, where we can see our squads moving in and starting to engage some of the pirates on the outskirts of the objective. Something crucial to note here, this is very much a more traditional style action point system. The squad used 90 some AP to move and load into the troop carrier, and developer diaries have stated RPGs cost 40 AP to use and can be used twice in one turn. This is very different and more open-ended than the modern XCOM style a lot of players may be used to, with one move and one attack per turn. What I'm saying is, don't listen to the inevitable comparisons you will hear. Menace will not play like XCOM, and that's not a bad thing. Not only are there vehicles and out-of-map abilities to account for, but as you can see, this is on a bigger scale, and each individual element in a squad can affect your attacks, cover, and suppression. Speaking of those things, I noticed on the combat UI that each attack has a meter showing the amount of armor penetration, suppression, and accuracy. This is a really nice way to condense these complex systems that are stacked on top of each other, making them easy to assess on the fly for anybody. Overall, I think the UI does a fairly good job of conveying all the necessary information without being too cluttered or complicated. The HUD is not visible in a lot of these clips, but I'm not sure if that's to help keep the footage clean or if we'll have the option to minimize it at times, which would be great. The only critique I have here is that sometimes at a glance, it's difficult to tell the difference between my squads and the enemies, even with the small colored emblems, and especially when the camera zoomed out. However, for anybody that might have been concerned about any toned down blood or gore, we can see that there's plenty of that. One other thing you will definitely notice in this gameplay is the fog of war and vision mechanics. Here we see the recon drone accessory scouting ahead and clearing some of that out, followed by the troop carrier advancing on the outpost with its vision being blocked by most of the buildings and higher objects. Enemy units can move in and out of your vision range with question marks at their last known location when they disappear. Vision seems like it will be a big factor in missions, as a lot of your encounters are going to be in compounds, civilian areas, or outposts. This will be an especially interesting mechanic to see during a night mission, where vision will already be limited and close quarters combat is the main form of engagement. Unfortunately, we didn't get any night footage in this preview, but there are a decent amount of missions with lighting conditions and weather effects that look really good. Personally, I'm a sucker for dynamic weather and effects in games, and I can't really think of any tactics games that use and employ the weather quite like Menace is trying to. We know there will be different biomes, different times of day, and certain extreme planetary weather occurrences, like the sandstorms you see here, or extreme heat and cold that directly affects how some weapons and equipment perform. Not a one-to-one comparison, obviously, but it kinda reminds me of Helldivers and their planetary weather mechanics. The only trade-off I worry about is the optimization and possible performance hit on medium or lower end systems, but hopefully we'll get a better idea of that with the demo. As for vehicle combat, I was hoping to see some walker action, but there wasn't any of that yet. I will say it's pretty apparent from the way the light machine gun on the troop carrier tears through multiple pirate squads that vehicles are going to be an X factor we will have to prepare for. I'm equally excited about calling in a strafing run on a pirate detachment and terrified of coming up against heavily armored tanks with my own infantry. I feel like that's the way it should be though. A few other small details that caught my eye: a pirate truck driving through a wall to flank a marine vehicle, and the overall destructibility of some of the smaller environmental objects like fences. There's also a few clips of buildings, like watchtowers and an outpost, that marine soldiers are able to enter and get on top of for an elevated position. Those kind of things open the door for more environmental destruction and interactivity, which is something I'm all for. The developers have said that craters from large explosions can be used as a cover source, so I'm hoping we see those types of systems get expanded on more during development. I'm really curious to hear everyone's thoughts on the new gameplay footage. Let me know if you're more excited for MENACE after this reveal, or even if you're less excited. Of course, if you really want to get in depth on the game and its systems, I have videos breaking down the developer diaries and updates on the screen now, so feel free to click right through and watch them.